Okay, I'm going to make an EP by myself in my home studio with not a lot of gear, equipment, not a lot of resources. I have some microphones, keys, guitar, and I record into a DAW system, but I really don't have that much, and you really don't need much at all. I mean, if you have good art, the art's gonna be great, so you don't have to worry about expensive gear and expensive software and great producers and a whole team and all that. You just need yourself. My name is Julia, and I make music from my home studio. I've been playing music forever, like since I can remember, since I was a kid. And I, in the past couple years, I started to write my own stuff and produce my own stuff with the help of my boyfriend, who is a music producer. So that has been really helpful for me. I've been able to make some really cool singles that I've released onto Spotify and YouTube. And now I think I'm ready to make an EP, and I'm going to pretty much do it all by myself. First point, I decided to make an EP because I had like 4 songs that I had already written, and I put them on the shelf. I think I wrote these like a year ago or something, 6 months ago, something like that. It was a while. I wrote them and I didn't do anything with them. And a year later, I kind of came back to all of them, and I realized that these songs were kind of explaining my journey through my mid-20s to now. And I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to tell a full-length story through an EP and, have, more of a body of work rather than just releasing singles. So that's kind of why I decided to do it. And I already had all the songs written, but I did have, I went back to all of them and tweaked them and kind of wrote a lot of different choruses and changed melodies to make sure that they kind of are all coming from the same place, and that the body of work is going to represent the feelings and the emotions that I plan to portray in the EP. But I'm really excited because I really like all these songs. I think they're going to go really well together. And that kind of goes into my second point, my preparation for my EP. So like, what am I going to do to prepare for this? I'm really trying to tell myself every day that I can do this and I can make good music, and I just like to believe in yourself. Like, I know that sounds super cliche, but if you don't believe in your work and your decision making and your music, then like it's not going to be fun and it's kind of pointless. So, and art's subjective, right? So it's not like wrong or right, but you want to just make sure you're being authentic and creating something that comes from your heart and your mind and not someone else's. And so that leads me into another thing that I've been doing for preparing for this EP, which is not listening to any music on Spotify. I get very overwhelmed listening to other people's music when I'm creating my own stuff. I'm really easily influenced by other people and other people's ideas. And then I start, if I listen to other people's music and then I start thinking, oh my gosh, mine doesn't sound like that. Mine should sound like that because that sounds cool. And then I get overwhelmed and thinking that I need to change all my stuff. And I also start comparing myself to these people and how many followers they have. And I'm like, oh, well, if I need that many if I want that many, if I want that outreach, then I should do my music like that. And I just spiral. And I just can't have that. So I stopped listening to music. I want this to be my work. It's really important to quiet the noise. That's what I think. Quiet the noise. Focus on your work. It's all about you. It's all about your emotions that you're trying to convey. And if someone can connect with that, great. If no one can, great. Another thing that I did a lot was read. Reading helps me write better lyrics and speak in more of a metaphor and analogies, because I don't naturally do that, right? So reading novels, oh my gosh, huge. That is a huge thing that's helped me become a better writer. So now I want to talk about the production that I have in mind. The production that I have in mind is simple. So I'm not a producer. I'm lucky enough to have a boyfriend who is in music production. He's helped me and taught me so much. but I'm still just scratching the surface. So I'm gonna produce my demos by myself, just me, and keep it pretty simple. And then release those on YouTube, and then in the meantime, work on the production, put a little bit more effort into it, and add some more intricacies in the meantime while I'm kind of releasing things onto YouTube. And that more intense production I'll get help with. I want to do the demos by myself so that I can learn more and like be in it and learn from that experience, because there's just it's its own art in itself, and it's complicated and it can get overwhelming. So what I do to try to not overwhelm myself is start with one instrument, no matter what, like just one instrument. I'm thinking, okay, this is a fully acoustic song. That's what I try to think of when I go into it. So let's say I record an acoustic guitar. And then, so I'll record the chord progressions and the whole song. And then on top of the guitar recording, I'll record my vocal. And there I have a song. And that's the most simple version. And that could be the end of it. End of the instrumentation, end of the vocals, no layers or anything. That could be the end of it. But usually I'll start thinking, okay, now that I have this foundation of vocal and guitar, I'm like, what else would sound nice? And then usually I'll add in maybe another layer of guitars, maybe like a strumming instead of a picking. Maybe I'll pan to guitar chord progressions left and right. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll add in keys and just add in like simple chords with keys. My goal is just to kind of build and build and build until I'm ready to stop, or I'm ready to start taking things away because it was too much. So it's really just getting that foundation down and then adding in elements that you might think could sound good. Because if you try to decide what the song is going to be before you go into production, well, like for me, if I try to decide what the song is going to be, like a indie pop song, I just don't have the production chops to like do that, and I get really overwhelmed, and it ends up just not sounding like how I want it to sound. So I've got a whole new technique now. It was about getting a foundation and then building on top of that. And you just never know what it's going to be. I'm kind of going very open-minded. And like I said before, I'm trying to let the lyrics and the vocal and the story of the song shine through. So for recording, what I typically do, I will record acoustic guitar on a dynamic mic. So I have a Shure SM48 dynamic mic with a dent in it because I dropped it. And then I have a Shure SM57 dynamic mic that's actually this one is used for instruments. I usually use this guy and mic up my acoustic guitar. And I have an interface that I plug this into. It's an SSL2 interface with 2 channels. And then I record into a DAW, which I use Ableton. And that's how I record acoustic guitar. And then for vocals, I got this new Rhodes NT1 condenser mic that has been really nice. It picks up a really nice sound. It does pick up a lot of room noise, so I record my vocals in my walk-in closet. This walk-in closet, and it traps the sound. It's really dead inside, so it's kind of like a recording booth that you see like in other studios. It's really nice. I also do vocals into this dynamic mic. It just doesn't pick up as nice of a sound, but it's still like pretty nice. I don't know, it kind of depends on what I'm in the mood to do. For demos, I'll sing into this and do like a handheld performance. That's how I record vocals. And then I will usually add keys to my song, which that's a Casio, I don't know, it's a red little keyboard. It's like $200, and it can record in MIDI, so I'll record keys via MIDI into Ableton. And then for drums, If I do add drums, which like I don't always add drums because it's just another layer of production that I have to do. So I'll record using my Ableton Push, which is really nice. I like the Ableton Push. It's a new piece of equipment that I recently got. Yeah, so Ableton Push for drums. And then if I do have a kick, a drum kick, I've learned that you should probably have a bass that goes with it. So I do have a bass guitar that I'll plug into my interface and record DI. I think that's what it's called. Sometimes I'll do that, which can be fun. But if I'm feeling lazy, because I'm not an actual bass player, I will plug in my keys and use MIDI to do just a simple bass line. That's usually what I do for my demos. Yeah, so that's like how I record. When it comes to like mixing and the actual production in Ableton, it honestly varies from song to song. But what I always usually do is add, so for like the vocal, for example, I'll add a reverb to it, an EQ, and a compressor. Squeeze everything together. That's what I do for vocals. And then for like guitar, I'll EQ it. Sometimes add a reverb too. Same with the keys. I always add a reverb and an EQ. And then drums, honestly, drums are more complicated. I usually get help with drums. But I'll do more of a deep dive into how I'm producing and mixing on other videos when I'm talking about individual songs, because it just can be complicated and it honestly changes, and I'm still learning how to produce, so I can't like be sure of anything right now. But yeah, so that's like the basics. I found this really nice plugin that's a UAD plugin. It's a Vintage Keys, which I've been using to record in my keys. It's a really nice kind of like Rhodes piano kind of sound. There's a lot of different sounds you can get from it. That's what I've been doing for my production on the keys. It's the songs that I have planned for this EP. I'm really going for a natural, raw production sound. So the production's not going to be crazy. It's going to be simple. I guess the last thing I want to talk about is the plans for release. I've released singles just on SoundCloud and Spotify, and I kind of like didn't use YouTube to my advantage as much. So this time I'm going to do things differently, because YouTube has a great like algorithm for small creators. And I've gotten a decent amount of reach on my videos, so I'm going to use YouTube. I'm going to release demos on YouTube and do live recordings of my song, which I already have one out. So if you want to kind of see the song that I have out, I'll link it in the description below. But yeah, I'm going to release like demos on YouTube. And the best thing about YouTube is that it just lives on YouTube. It doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to have this perfect production. It's kind of like a way to get ideas out and feels out and, you know, be authentic and raw with it. So that's what I'm going to do. And I already did it. So, yeah, I like doing the demos live, I think, because I think that gives more of a human connection and humanization of the music and the emotion that I'm trying to convey. If you're ever like wondering about releasing music, like YouTube is a good place to do it. And it doesn't have to be live. Like you can do it, you can record it and put like a music video behind it or something. But yeah, I think YouTube, you know, when I release into Spotify, I guess it's harder for me because I don't like Spotify is good for like big artists because, you know, it's like everyone's releasing on a Spotify, and the big artists, they have the connections and they can get on the playlist. So for smaller creators and like independent artists, I like to put it out there so that it's accessible to everybody. And but it's like I'm not as excited about it as I am for YouTube. So I've been really leaning into YouTube, and you just can connect with people better. It's just, and you can see my face. So YouTube. But then also once I finish the production, then I'll release my songs onto Spotify and SoundCloud and Amazon Music. I use in YouTube Music. I go through a distributors. I use DistroKid, and then I upload my songs to DistroKid, and then they upload it to these streaming platforms. It's super easy. It costs like $20 a year or something. I don't know. So I'm gonna have demos, and then I'm gonna have my real production. The demos come first. The live performances come first, and I'm also gonna put the demos on SoundCloud too, because SoundCloud's cool. Small creators too are on SoundCloud. It's kind of, I don't know how many people still use it. I don't know, but I'm still going to put stuff on SoundCloud. Again, SoundCloud's a place where it just lives on SoundCloud. It doesn't have to be this like perfectly produced piece of art. So that's kind of what I learned from past releases. So that's kind of what my plan is for my EP, and that's kind of how I'm going to do it in my thought process. You can subscribe if you want. And there's like, I have my song, I don't even have a name for it right now. I think it's going to be called Feels Like Silver or like Rain Song. That's released already, and it's just kind of the song. And then I'm going to, in another video, do a breakdown of the production and a breakdown of the writing. If you're interested in learning more about how to write and how to produce by yourself when you don't have a lot of equipment or gear. I guess those two are the same things. Equipment or resources. Yeah. Thanks for listening, guys. See ya soon.